Hey guys, it's Dasher Zach back with another review. This time, another product from Fifine, the Ampligame D6 Stream Deck Stream Controller. This has been an absolute revelation to my setup. As much as recently I was like, oh, this isn't changing the game too much. I just didn't really think it was doing much for me. And then I started to get more used to integrating it into my setup, and it has been an absolute game changer. So what is this thing about? It has 15 programmable buttons here that you'll see very shortly how I have them programmed. Simply powered here by USB-C, and a button here to control the RGB as well. Has nice rubberized feet here to prevent it from slipping in any way, shape, or form. A very just sort of polished, high quality feel to this. Getting some real quick product highlights. It comes in at $79 on their site, but currently on sale and often $60 or below on Amazon. Again, has those 15 programmable keys, which you can have custom icons on. Awesome plugins, which are one of the cooler aspects that I've found here to plug into things like OBS, Creative Cloud, YouTube, Twitch, for example, as you see the icons here as well. Comes in both black and white. Ships to the US, UK, and Canada, or anywhere you can get this on Amazon. So now I have it plugged in here. You can see all the icons I have set up, and of course this vibrant and bright RGB that goes around the entire base of the D6. I've been operating with that off, just a long press of the button here in the back because it's a little bit distracting, but a cool feature should you want to sort of augment your setup with it. So what do I have on my Ampligame D6? I have a lot of audio controls here for next, last, play, stop, volume up and down. These volume up and down here are nice. About the same level of functionality as like a knob on a keyboard, which is awesome. Frees me up to use whatever keyboard I want without getting too worried about the knobs. Because if you hold one of these down, the volume goes all the way up or all the way down very quickly. Also have a button to turn on the virtual camera on Discord when I use that for Mousecast, and also to record in OBS. And also the mic mute and unmute feature. This is actually for Discord specifically, so another plugin. This button right here is what has absolutely changed my life. This switches audio sources between preferred audio sources or switches back to one that you want. I have this between my IEMs and my speakers. This is a massive pain point for me, and this is what has made me love this absolutely to the moon. I often switch between these when listening to music out loud, or when recording, or doing a Mousecast podcast, and this has just been the best. I also have some buttons here to open some applications: DaVinci Resolve, OBS, Pixar, which is what I use to edit images, most specifically my thumbnails, as well as Steam and Spotify. A lot of these images are stock, but as you can see here, for example, this image I had to grab from the internet, so you can put any custom image you want here to be higher quality. Spotify as well, which makes this like just very official and sort of professional. I also like there's a very small footprint here on the desk, not even the size of my hand, about 14 centimeters long, give or take. I've added it to my setup by just placing it right here. Easy to reach for changing things like volume, audio input. But beyond that, let's go into the software, the main sort of brain of the operation, to see how that works. And as I switch to the software, I will note that the software must be open for the device to work, which I don't love, but is definitely very common for these sort of stream decks. Here we have a look at the software itself, and I believe this is sort of like a proprietary solution. I've seen other different branded stream controllers using the same software. But as you can see, there are some built-in controls here for just the deck itself. Stuff like creating folders, shifting scenes, or even changing the brightness. The toolbox has other sort of built-in functionality here that's basic to just any computer, like a mouse event or a hotkey switch. Stuff also for like audio players. But the cool thing here is the plugins. The plugins that I've used are OBS, for example. You can see there are ones beyond the ones that I have here. You can take a screenshot, unmute a certain audio source, turn a source visibility on, change scenes. This is probably huge for people who go live. The virtual camera one is the one that I have turned on. Also Discord, which is where I took the mute feature, but you can go to a text channel, go to a certain voice channel if you want to swap between channels without having to think about it. I don't use Streamlabs, but this Switch Audio Devices here is also a separate plugin that I was able to get myself. So how do you get there? And this was not immediately obvious to me. You go to this little App Store button. I do want to cover a few more that I just added here so that you have a good idea of all the functionality this deck can bring you. Spotify has all your basic sort of next, previous, play. You can change repeat, shuffle, volume up and down. I'm very intrigued by what this VS Code one has. You can execute a command or a terminal command, insert a snippet, or create a terminal. It's not the most useful, but still pretty cool. Tons of different features you can see here for all the different things you might do in Photoshop, lasso, cropping, blurring, for example. And then something like Premiere Pro for editing. You can put cutting, for example, to this if you wanted to. Different effects, going full screen, mark in, mark out. I can see this being very useful for someone who edits heavily in Adobe Premiere Pro. But overall, very versatile as I sub out a few of the buttons here, as I primarily use Spotify. Oh, I will authorize this later. That is one thing. A lot of these, the plugins that go for third party, you will have to put like a client ID and a client secret in. They link you out directly to that. It's very straightforward for most of these. I had no issues really, so I'll take care of that later. Another example here is this multimedia here. You can drop in, like where I had replaced that with Spotify, and then you can title it so you know what it does. And then here are all your different media things. So they're not necessarily all their own buttons, but it could be a category that you can then find more options for. So that's it for the features on the D6. It's going to be a pretty short video here, but a very effective one. I think the pros of this are very affordable, a very nice display. The buttons are a little bit stiff. They're not the highest quality buttons buttons I felt on a Stream Deck, but they're fully functional, very easy to press. You can even expand them should you want to for like the volume controls here that I'm doing right now, and they're not really too resistant. I guess one downside potentially is that something like an Elgato may have like a larger app library, like it may have plugins for DaVinci Resolve that I use here, for example, for editing, as opposed to just Adobe Premiere Pro. But for the cheaper price of this D6, and for all the applications and features that you saw there, I think it's pretty well featured. Definitely do not regret picking this up and trying it out myself at all. I will be continuing to leave this on my desk specifically for that audio switch feature, but of course for a bunch of other features here as well. Quick Discord mute, for example, not on my keyboard's nice. Easy volume controls, again, to free up my keyboard choice without worrying about a knob. And yeah, overall, very pleased with the Ampligame D6 here. Again, often goes on sale for sub $60 on Amazon. A very good, affordable, plug-and-play solution if you find yourself needing more functionality, don't want to bind it to a keyboard, and enjoy just a very nice, high-quality display. So that about sums up here for my thoughts on the Fifine Ampligame D6. Please subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. You can find me at X-Deck, check out the Mousecast podcast and my peripheral Discord server. And with that, we'll see you.